This is lesson 7-4, estimating sums and differences of mixed numbers. Our essential question, how can you round fractions and mixed numbers to estimate their sums and differences? And here is a really quick picture of rounding to estimate. There is no vocab for this lesson. Example number 1. So we're going to round both of these mixed numbers and then we're going to solve. So our first one is 4 7/15 plus 2 5/12. So 4 7/15. Here's how we round. It's very similar to how we do whole numbers. You know, when we do whole numbers, we say if it's 5 or greater, we round up, and if it's less than 5, we stay the same. It's kind of the same concept with mixed numbers, but we're looking at the fraction part and we're thinking if it's a half or bigger than a half, we round up. If it's less than a half, we stay the same. And the way we can figure that out, because it's not always going to be written exactly like a half, like that, is we can look at our denominator, and our numerator should be half of what our denominator is. So our denominator in this case is 15. Half of 15 is about 7.5, because we know half of 14 is 7, because 7 plus 7 is 14. So it's going to be a little bit bigger because we're at 15. So, since our numerator is 7, if this was equal to a half, our denominator would have to be 14. But it's not, it's 15. So it's a little bit less than a half. So this is going to stay the same because it's less than a half. So it's going to stay as a 4. And then we move on to our next one, 2 5/12. Look at our denominator. Our denominator's 12. I know that half of 12 is 6, because 6 plus 6 equals 12. But my numerator is 5, which is a little bit less than 6, so it's not quite half. So the 2 is also going to stay the same. And we just bring down our operation and we solve. 4 plus 2 is 6. Example number 2, they want us to round it to the nearest whole number. And again, we use the comparing it to a half. So I know that a half of 3 is 1.5, because 1.5 plus 1.5 equals 3. And my numerator is 2, which is a little bit bigger. So that means 2/3 is a little bit bigger than a half. So it's going to round up to 1 whole. Example number 3. We have 3 11/16. Well, I have 16 as my denominator. Half of 16 is 8, and 11 is definitely bigger than 8. So that tells me that this 3 is going to round up to 4. Bring down your operation, which is subtract, and then move on to the next mixed number, 1 1/4. I have 4 as my denominator. Half of 4 is 2, but my numerator is only 1. So that means it's less than half. So that means the 1 stays the same. So I have 4 minus 1 is 3. And example number 4, round to the nearest whole number again. So I have 7 as my denominator. Half of 7 is 3.5. Or 3 5/10, that means the same thing. And 2 is definitely less than that. So that means that 2/7 is less than a half. So 3 stays the same. All right, here are your practice problems. The first 2, you're just rounding to the nearest whole number. And then the second 2, you're rounding and then solving. Don't forget a word problem or a question, and rate your understanding.